childish, isn't it?
I think the ocean and the fog were more effective.
I agree. But in my work, I deal with many different kinds of minds. Generally speaking, I think you could say that 3 types of people come here to see me. The first, a fairly large group, come here to scoff. And sometimes a few of them remain to pray. The second have childlike, credulous minds. They long to believe. They're tired and sad and need comfort. But all this helps them. It creates an atmosphere. You see? A mood like music. And in it they find a few brief moments of comfort which helps them to continue with their gray little lives. And so I do not think it is so childish after all. Do you?
And the third group?
The third group is those of us who honestly explore the secrets of the outer world. I feel that you have come here today to join that group.
The Amazing Mr. X, also known as The Spiritualist, was a 1948 mystery thriller starring Turhan Bey as a phony psychic trying to fool 2 sisters, played here by Lynn Bari and Cathy O'Donnell, with a gimmick of talking to the dead. But will this pretend spiritualist actually find himself in over his head? Well, let's watch this one and see. I'll give an overview of the film, spoiler-free, and then offer some closing thoughts. Well, the film opens up, and it's late at night, and we see this woman who is living in a big house by the beach. This is the character Christine, played here by actress Lynn Bari, who I caught not long ago in the movie Sleepers West with Lloyd Nolan. Now, she seems to be hearing a voice beckoning from the ocean. Her sister comes in to check on her, and it's actress Cathy O'Donnell as a character Janet. I caught her not long ago in the movie They Live by Night with Farley Granger. Wait a minute. Janet and Christine? Come and knock on our door. Anyhow. Christine tells her that it sounds like the voice of her husband is calling to her from the sea. Now, he had died 2 years ago, apparently. But Janet tells her, no, you stop being morbid, and that she should move on with her life. In fact, she has a date later. So both of them head off to get ready. Now, Janet leaves, and Christine gets a call from her fella. It's this character Martin, played by actor Richard Carlson, of Creature of the Black Lagoon fame. And he's running a little bit late, so she says that she'll just walk over on the beach to meet up with him. And I have to make a note of this, but this is cinematographer John Alton at work here. And oh my goodness, this film looks gorgeous. Now, John Alton I usually associate with crime films. And although there are crime elements, this is more of a supernatural thriller. And, he does just as much an amazing job here with the visuals, with that subject matter as well. I mean, just check out some of this. Christine is walking along, and she seems to be haunted by these ghostly sounds of someone calling her voice. And her dress catches on a boat, one with the name of her deceased husband, Paul. Well, she panics and runs and encounters, it's Turhan Bey, as the character Alexis. Now, I've seen Turhan in a number of films, namely some of the Universal Mummy film sequels. I think he's a great actor. And he shows up, he's all cool and charming in his tuxedo and his pipe. And his pet crow, just chilling out with him. It's great. And he speaks to her about her deceased husband. He's using his psychic skills. And he seems to know lots of details about her and their past. And he hands her a card, and she seems intrigued by him. Now, around here, the character of Martin shows up. He's very concerned about where she's been. And Alex has vanished. Well, Martin brings her home so that she can go ahead and change her dress. They have some drinks together. And you think Martin might be ready to pop the question here. But he starts up some music that we find haunts Christine. She turns and looks at the painting of her dead husband. She mentions that this was Paul's favorite song, and Martin appeals to her to just move on, and he gives her the ring. So she accepts and they embrace, but she is still haunted by that creepy painting in the music. So her dead husband still seems to be haunting from beyond the grave. Maybe she should just replace that painting with one of a clown with balloons or something. Well, that night while sleeping, Christine wakes, hearing more of that haunting piano music. By the way, it's Prelude in E minor, Opus 28, number 4 from Chopin. Get used to it, because it will get stuck in your head after watching this film, especially if you're like me and you've watched the film a couple times. Anyhow, she hears the music and Paul's voice beckoning to her. And she sees that Martin's picture has been knocked over. And there's the picture of Paul and their old ring. And then suddenly she sees a ghostly vision of her wedding dress that has come to life and is moving towards her. So she screams, and Janet runs in to see what happened. And after talking things over, Christine says that she will go to see Alexis the next day. Maybe he can use his supernatural skills to make sense of things. So sure enough, the next day she shows up at his place. And he's got this awesome skull door knocker. So no answer at the door, but it just sort of opens by itself. So she goes in. Alexis welcomes her, and they sit by a crystal ball to talk. Now, he kind of can sense that Paul's spirit must be trying to reach out from beyond the grave to disrupt her plans. By the way, I love the angle of this shot. Look at how it goes up through the glass table with the light of the ball, the smoke. It's all just really great. Anyhow, Alexis continues with his talk, and she just kind of goes along with it. Now, Martin senses something's kind of fishy, so he and Janet, they go to meet with Detective Hoffman, played here by actor Harry Mendoza. And I really love the scene as they're talking to him, because the entire time he's talking about what a fraud this Alexis character is. And he's doing like coin tricks as he talks. And he's playing with cards and stuff. Apparently he used to be a magician, and he knows all of the tricks of these charlatans. And he's even got a file on Alexis, but there's really nothing that they can arrest him for. So what they decide is that they will send Janet in undercover to see if they can unravel the schemes of this psychic.
There's a picture of him in this pamphlet he wrote.
Oh, this? I used to be a magician. That's how I got into this racket. I know all their tricks.
So sure enough, Janet arrives at his place, and he meets with her. And she had planned to maintain this disguise, a false identity, but Alexis, he's just so charming, and he sees right through it all, and he gets the truth out of her. He figures out that she brought a silver cigarette case in order to get his fingerprints unaware. And he kind of plays along with it. He has no issue with putting his prints on the case carefully and giving it back to her. And he sends her home with it, telling her that he trusts her, and she seems to have fallen for his grace and his charms completely. And again, I'm going to keep talking about it. Hey, it's my channel. I'll do what I like. Look at the lighting in this scene. It's just gorgeous here. Janet leaves, and Alexis, he's just kind of chilling out with his crow. I love how the crow brings him a ciggy. It's great. And around this point, Alexis, his girlfriend, Emily, arrives home, played by actress Virginia Gregg. Now, she has also been working these sisters, She's in on the hustle as well. She's been working kind of like as a servant at the house. And, it's part of their gimmick, I guess. Like, she can get details about them that Alexis can use for his seances and so on. Well, she wants to know when Alexis plans to finally swindle Christine out of her money. But he's all cool about it, biding his time. And they are interrupted as a wealthy woman arrives, another sucker, it would seem, for his scam. So Christine and Janet have gone off together to meet with Alexis. And Alexis, maybe sensing there's a conflict going on between the two of them, tells them he's going to do a seance. And not only will he do the seance, he's going to be tied up with ropes and put into a box the entire time. So it's quite a trick. So the girls sit down at a table, and it's a dark room, and soon they see a vision of a gloved hand, and then a photo of their father starts to come into focus. All right, the effects are a little hokey, but it's all good. Alexis has clearly gotten out of his box behind the scenes, and he's pumping in cold air, and then he puts on a costume so he can come out and try and act like a ghost. But it is here that Martin and the detective unexpectedly rush in to try to infiltrate the performance. But Alexis is able to get back into his box in time, so both of the sisters are convinced that Alexis is still legit. And the guys can't figure out how he did it. But they're convinced he's a fraud. So they insist on sitting him down at the table with the crystal ball while they're right next to him to see what he can do. They're putting him on the spot. They're like, okay, let's see a real seance here. And you think that maybe, just maybe, Alexis is going to get made here as a fraud. Because, he's not able to leave the table and do any of his gimmicks or anything. And just when it seems like he is going to be stumped, we hear that piano music, followed by the voice of Paul. And soon enough, we actually see him standing in the doorway. So the men rush out to find him, but he's gone. Now, Alexis sends everybody away, that the evening has been a terrible strain to him. And once everybody is gone, and Alexis is all alone in his home, he finally meets with Paul, played here by actor Donald Curtis. Now, this film, at this point, has reached a very entertaining twist. And no, I'm not going to spoil the film ending, because there's still about 20 minutes left. But here's what's going on. Paul has apparently faked his death, and he is a manipulative character in the background. He is out to pull another deception, and this time he wants Alex to work with him or work for him. And he's able to threaten Alexis because, he's presumed dead, and he can manipulate and threaten to even kill Alexis because he can't be accused. It's really a great twist here. And I love watching this because as you watch Alexis, he's now a manipulator getting manipulated by Paul. He's caught in his own deception, but he's forced to go along with this further than he really intended to. So Paul has this crazy scheme that Alexis can marry Janet, the younger sister, in order to get the estate. Alexis, we can see, is really in over his head. He heads over to visit with the sisters, and Christine tells Alexis that maybe they should break off contact with Paul. Maybe they've gone too far. But Alexis, no, he is reluctant. And he wants to walk outside, he says, with Janet, while Christine waits. And outside in the moonlight, Janet just fawns over this guy, and he gives her a kiss. Now, meanwhile, at this point, Paul's ghost continues to haunt Christine at the house, and she hears the voice of Paul's ghost outside. So she goes out at night and heads towards a dangerous drop-off. Ooh, well, what will happen? Will the fiendish Paul have his way? Will Alexis continue to play a part in this evil scheme, or will he do what is right? And what will happen with the sisters? Will they figure everything out? And will they get out of this mess? Well, you need to see the ending for yourself. It's great how everything culminates, but I don't want to give the spoiler for the ending. You have to check this one out for yourself. So some closing thoughts here. The Amazing Mr. X was released by Eagle Lion Pictures in 1948 with direction by Bernard Vorhaus and cinematography by John Alton. As far as I can tell, this one is in the public domain. There are copies everywhere of this film. My thoughts on this was that it was a fun mystery movie with a great twist near the end when Paul returns. when we see the trickster Alexis realize that he's in over his head and he's being tricked and manipulated. It was really neat to see that switcheroo and how things resolved from there. I thought the story was good. The performances were all excellent, especially that of Turhan Bey as Alexis. As mentioned earlier, I know of him from some other movies like the Universal Mummy films. He was in a few of those, as well as cheesy things like The Mad Ghoul. And Bey would often be cast as Chinese, Japanese, Arabian, Egyptian, Indian, and so on, usually in a role of like a cultish criminal, a henchman, or in this case, a charlatan psychic. His history is really a fascinating one. He was actually born in Vienna, Austria. He was the son of a Turkish diplomat and a Czech Jewish mother. His parents divorced, and he and his mother left Austria in 1938 due to the war. Once in the U.S., he started getting into films, and in 1941, he started acting, and he was in about 40 films. He would take a long break from Hollywood, but then would return around 1993, but mostly to appear in TV shows. As far as acting goes, I think he's great. I really like his voice and his screen presence, and whenever he shows up in a film, I think it's just fantastic. So, looking forward to seeing more of his films in the future. I like seeing both Lynn Bari and Cathy O'Donnell as this pair of sisters in the film, who in their own way are loving and overprotective of one another, and both sort of go along with the weird and supernatural stuff going on. In thinking about it, it's the late 40s. Maybe if you saw weird floating gloves at a seance, it would have hit differently back then. I don't know. In my mind, as I watched this, I thought it might have been different if, say, Christine had stayed convinced of the supernatural, while maybe her sister Janet would have been a little more skeptical. But in any case, that's how it unfolded. And also, just a minor criticism, it felt like the character of Martin and the detective they were introduced strong, but then became a little less significant characters as the film built to its conclusion. But in any case, I still like the resolution, and I really like that twist that kind of came along near the end of the film. Interesting bit of trivia is that Carol Landis was originally scheduled to play the part of Christine, but she had committed suicide a few days before shooting began. I knew about this from when I did a review of Topper Returns, and I was researching her backstory for that film. So it's a very sad situation there. Richard Carlson did offer a good supporting role here. Again, I just felt like he wasn't as much in the film towards the latter half. And is it just me, or does he sort of look like comedian Phil Hartman? Just me? Oh. And as I've said in earlier reviews, whenever you see John Alton providing the cinematography for a film, it's like his artistry is just as much a star of the film as any of the actors. And even though this isn't like a gritty crime film, at which his work really excels, a supernatural subject like this, he brings so much weird, ethereal look and feel, to like the habitat of a psychic with the shadowy, layers of smoke and hazy light. He just brings this amazing, glowy, dreamy quality to characters like Christine and Janet, bringing sparkly lights out of their eyes and jewelry. Now, the one thing is they never really explained, how did Paul or Alexis pull off that trick with the ghostly, transparent, floating dress? But, whatever. From what I read about the film, some of the trivia, apparently at the previews of this film, audiences found some parts of the film to be unintentionally funny that resulted in laughter where they weren't really expecting it. I couldn't tell from the article what scenes they were referring to, but having watched the film a couple times, I have some ideas. And it was interesting to me that the house at the beach was filmed at the Villa de Leon in the Pacific Palisades of California. And I love location footage. I do that when I watch a movie. I think, I wonder if that place is still here. And sure enough, it is. It is still around, and it has been featured actually in a number of music videos by people like Beyonce, Lady Gaga, and other artists that I don't generally listen to. I have the place linked below in the description if you want to go take a look at it. It's pretty cool, and it's much the same today. And final note, and I'll wrap this one up, it was hard to find a good copy of this film. That's the public domain game, I guess, and I found a decent version. I have it linked below in the description, but trust me, there are numerous copies of this film online because public domain, lots of people are going to grab it and put it out there. So that's my review of The Amazing Mr. X from 1948. It was an enjoyable mystery thriller. Turhan Bey is a really great actor, and I really enjoyed seeing him here, as well as Lynn, Bari, and Cathy O'Donnell. They all do a great job here. It's an entertaining story with some amusing twists, and I love the supernatural element, and it really comes to life with that cinematography by John Alton. It's a fun film, and it's worth checking out.